looking back in hindsight, it's kind of like, wow, we just like started dating yesterday. Hey, could you like help with my taxes?
Pretty much, yeah. It was just like, but you have a plan at this point. Because you've heard that there's cult members of Apollyon about infiltrating. You're like, I know. I'm just gonna diss Apollyon. Your guys' strategy for rooting these out is just like piss them off and try and notice that. That's the strategy you would come up with. Uh,
Yep. It was a great plan with no flaws,
of course.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, it nearly worked out massively, as you'll see. And like, obviously, they'll be like, "Oh, look at that! A small boat now unoccupied, right?"
Yep.
Um, and they'll take. But you guys during this combat were like, "Oh, we're gonna burn this boat down. Oh shit, we're gonna set this shit on fire. It's gonna be great." And I was like, "Wait,
Yep.
no, this is please." So I
Wait,
just,
wait, wait.
yeah. Hello, and welcome to A Slight Chance Adventure, a Pathfinder First Edition campaign diary podcast. My name is Tyler. I was the DM of this campaign, and with me I have one of my players, Gavin.
Hello, I am Gavin. I played Shauna.
He did. To Tom's many adoring fans, he won't be here this episode, but
He's
don't worry,
dead.
he'll. Yeah, yes, yeah, we killed him, but we've got some necromancers working on it. He'll probably be back next episode. Anyway, last time, um, the players made their way to the surface from some underground ancient ruins they had been exploring. They made their way back to the town of Hintella. They threw a party, and then they returned to those ancient ruins to retrieve some paintings that they had left there because they hadn't been able to bring them up the first time. And that is where we will pick up. So, yeah, we pick up with you guys reaching the surface, having brought the paintings you found under there back. The I remember now. I having looked a bit ahead. I know what all three paintings were now. So there's the one of the destruction, big disaster.
Mhm.
That one was the most valuable, as you'll find out. There's one you gave to Priscilla already. She bought it from you guys. Um, which depicted some elves, which is like, oh, why is there a painting of elves from these ancient people? Oh, interesting.
That
Uh,
was our like only interaction with her, right?
uh, you interact with her again one more time, I think. But yeah, there's like a little bit of I think there's a fight later on that she is involved in, because like,
Mhm.
there was a specific thing with her I wanted her to do that you guys would get involved in, so that's why she got introduced here the last
Right.
episode. But yeah, as I we talked about last episode, you just didn't care for her that much. And then the third painting was a picture of a fight between like two groups of people. So yeah, bits of lore. So you guys make your way to the nearby fishing town that you went to last time and get a ride back to Hentella. Then I imagine you guys discussed with each other, and you decided you were going to go over to Kalaloy, the capital city of Kalau, the furthest north island that you guys hadn't been to yet. Um,
Right.
do you have many distinct memories of Kalau?
I'm not remembering a lot now.
No, no. All right, well, I'll say something that might jog your memory in a little bit. Um, but anyway, you guys get a ride to Kalau with Clyde, if you remember who Clyde is. No? Clyde,
Right.
yeah,
Poor Clyde.
for Clyde, yes. Um, I remember there was like a bit of
The,
good.
the attempted honey trap that our druid tried to put on him
Yes, yes,
to
yeah,
steal his armor.
yeah. But there was so there was a bit of awkwardness, but then he was like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll give you guys a ride, whatever. And you talk to him a bit about where would be a good place to sell the paintings, because that's why you're going to Calo, I mentioned. And then he tells you, I think he tells you a place, it doesn't say here. Um, and you arrive on Kalaloy, or yeah, arrive at the city of Kalaloy, talk to a dwarf, and get directions to apparently the Salty Dogs Bar. You buy some rooms there and sleep for the night. You wake up and get probably one of the most distinct like character moments for Fierce, um, where he like leans out the window and tells the people on the street to be quiet. Because I mentioned that like, oh, it was bustling city, and he like leans out the window. He's like, ah, be quiet, everyone. Um,
I thought it was the point where he bought his banjo,
well, that and
but
the
he
yeah.
already did that.
But I just remember like this distinct is like one of the few times the player made like a strong character like role play choice. Um, yeah, it
Yeah,
just stands out in my memory. Um,
very grumpy cat man.
yes.
I don't really remember. I remember. I think there's like a fan base for the one elf lady
We'll
there,
get
or
that.
like
We'll get
at
that in a
least a
second. Yeah.
mini. Okay,
Um,
just trying to say what I remember of the
yes.
town.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's one thing I'll remind you of that you guys found very funny at the time, and um,
Hmm.
so when you guys arrived on here, I would have revealed a little map to you guys with various destinations labeled. Um, one of the destinations was the main mountain, a volcano, actually, on this island.
Hmm.
And if you, the name's name is Kalau, right? And
Yep.
I was like, okay, and a lot of the names in this place start with a whatever. Um,
Hmm.
so the name of the mountain I wanted to write was Cap Lao, which you're no,
I remember
yeah,
now.
you're already remember. Which I now looking back, that's already sounds weird. But I forgot the letter L, so I ended up just labeling it Mount Kapow.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's accurate
and I wanted to change it, but you guys are like, no, no, it's Mount Kapow now. This is locked in.
legally.
Yeah. Um. So I just had to accept that. Completely unintentional. It just happened to name a volcano Mount Kapow.
Sometimes the lore just has to change.
It just has to. Yeah. Oh yeah. So Fierce, having yelled at the streets to be quiet, sleeps in. While everybody else goes and gets breakfast. Um.
Mhm.
Elika, having learnt, Elika's player had decided they'd like were interested in like, okay, what's up with elves? I'm like the only half elf other than Tuzma. Are there other elves? And I'd mentioned that like on Kal-El you get more people from Astoria, so that they're more likely to run into just actual elves. Um, and so
Mhm.
they ask a passing half elf woman about, hey, where do elves hang out around here? And get learn that. Um, but anyway, having learned from Clyde where to go, the rest of you head to a large art shop. And when you get in
Yep.
there, I can't believe I didn't note this because it was quite the moment. But I remember there was a big statue. Do you remember what the statue was?
It was of the elf lady,
Tuzma.
right? Yeah, Tuzman.
Yeah, essentially, because Tuzma was like the only elf on these islands, as far as
Yeah.
everyone knew. So she'd been here for a while. So to most of the like humans, at least of like the past couple generations on these islands, Tuzla was just this eternal figure, right? Um,
Yep.
which meant, and some of them quite to quite a, like a looked to her quite highly. And so one of
Became
them,
fans.
yes, and so one
Jelly.
of them had carved a big statue depicting Tuzma in some like elegant pose. And I'd also specified they'd, emphasized her attractiveness. And you guys are like, oh, wow. Or I think it was like, Elika's player was like, oh, wow, my aunt is, ooh. Um,
Got a lot of simps.
yes. Which is, talking about Tuzma, it's funny. How do you remember Tuzma? Um,
I remember her as like kind of a nearly middle age, but like refined like a nice wine kind of
mm, mm.
look to her.
Like personality. What, like, how did you think of her in terms of like who was she? Was it like weird or?
I didn't think of her as weird or anything like that, but just old and wise, like you would
Mm,
typically depict a nice elf woman, I suppose.
right, right. See, the way I ended up thinking of her a lot, um, was she was kind of just like a normal person, but she was just the only elf, right? Which is a unique circumstance. And so she's kind of just. I thought of her as most of the time just kind of doing her best. She's just trying to get
Yeah,
by and do her best and by the people, but then she's like because she just lives so long, she ends up occupying this position of prominence, and it's gonna just like ends up here. And she doesn't really know, but she just she just tries to do her best, and yeah, that's how I thought of her. We didn't get into it much, but yeah.
Yeah. She's also been through a lot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Because she was like the only survivor of the last calamity,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Um, only elven survivor, at least. There were other elves, she had parents, but yeah, all the other elves died. She was the only one who happened to survive, and there weren't many elves before, so yeah. So you guys sell the painting of the destruction to at the shop, just straight up sell it. They just buy it. But
Yep.
then they do this weird arrangement where they'll like hold the battle painting, and then when it gets sold, send you guys the money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then there was a quick thing of like, okay, wait, where do they send the money? um, and and
Right.
and you ended up arranging for the money to go to Mella's house, the your new girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Looking back in hindsight, it's kind of like, wow, we just like started dating yesterday. Hey, could you like help with my taxes?
Pretty much, yeah. It was just like, yeah, this is happened now. It was,
But she's like the second at the church, right? So this is
yeah,
responsible enough.
yeah. She's a very reasonably capable woman. Uh,
Yep.
uh, and Elika also buys a little metal figure of Tuzma because there, other than the big statue, there was also like little statue, essentially.
Oh,
What's the word? Um, like when you go on a vacation and you get like little things,
souvenirs.
souvenir. Yeah, little Tuzma souvenirs.
Do you get Tuzma
I
souvenirs?
don't think so, and I imagine she would feel a little weird about that.
It'd be a little funny.
Yeah, I mean she'd be used to it, the kind of thing, but yeah. Oh yeah. So then you guys go. You want after selling the paintings here on Kalaloy, you decide you're going to go over to Perico, which is on the island of Tuval, the slaver island. And so you go find a ship to do that for you guys. Um, but you have a plan at this point. You because you've heard that there's cult members of Apollyon about infiltrating. You're like, I know. I'm just gonna diss Apollyon. Your guys' strategy for rooting these out is just like piss them off and try and notice that. That's the strategy you would come up with.
Yep. It was a great plan with no flaws,
Of course.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, it nearly worked out massively, as you'll see. Because uh, Chunla goes around I say very obviously talking about how cowardly and stupid Apollyon and his followers are. Um,
Yep.
and Chunla goes around does that, and you notice somebody go like kind of get annoyed and like point out to Arcus, hey them. Um, and I remember how did this moment feel to you if you remember it?
Well, I remember thinking that this plan probably won't work, but it'll be fun to do.
Right.
And if anything came of it, then good for that as well.
Mm.
But also, Shanla is just a character that would always talk shit about everyone all the time,
Right. Um,
as she was known to do.
yeah. For me, this was like, oh, they're doing this now. Okay, I guess I'll like, I think I like rolled a d20 and rolled high, so it's like, okay, yeah, sure, somebody passes by. But then Orcus starts following this guy, and internally, I remember this moment being like, oh my god, suddenly this is gonna just turn into a whole thing, right? I was preparing for this to be like the next couple sessions of following infiltrate, um, the call. Like I was mentally like preparing to like, okay, this is where we're going now, and then Orcus rolls a natural one in a stealth check. um,
Oh no!
yeah,
Yep, that's how the dice be due.
yeah, and so it was like, okay, oh, never mind, because the guy notices Orcus, um, and the guy turns around like, "Hey, why are you following me?" And Orcus doesn't immediately say, "I'm following you because you're called." He's just like, there's like a brief like aggressive back and forth, but then the guy just leaves and Orcus doesn't follow because he's been spotted. So you guys like, oh well, that didn't work, and leave for Perico. Um,
Yep.
but
There are further additions to this plan later.
yes. But that's not what you're dealing with now. You're going to the Slaver Island. In particular, there are slaver pirates who follow around that island, and so you have to. Part of the going to Perico is giving the people who are taking you there assurances. Yeah, we'll protect you from pirates, right?
Yep.
Um, and so of course some pirates attack because you can't just say there's gonna pirates and not do that.
It'd be a little funny. It's like, oh boy, you
Oh
guys.
boy, yeah,
This ship of apparently aggressive people are like floating right next to you, but they're not pirates.
yeah, no, they're just assholes.
They just look angry all the time.
Yeah. I note here, so yeah, some pirates pull up next to you and try and board. There's a fight. I note that it's an unexpectedly easy fight. Now, do you remember anything notable about this fight with these pirates on this ship?
Um, like oftentimes.
Hmm.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yes,
You you're really shitty at rolling, Tyler. You need to
yes,
improve your
we've
rolling
established this.
dice rolling
Yes,
skins
yes.
skills. I don't know what you do,
Mm.
but like you like sometimes the fight will just be like, well, I misrolled this, I missed all my attacks. Great, now you go. Oh, you crit my guys. Well, this was not supposed to happen like this.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
fuck you guys.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, do you remember
that
anything
happens a
else
lot.
about how this fight played out, other than like non-combat wise?
Not
Okay,
particularly.
so this fight was playing out, and I remember I had decided at this point, it'd be really great if these guys got themselves a boat, so they don't have to keep like finding boats, renting them, and
Yeah,
stuff. And so I was like, okay, a group of pirates on a small enough boat that the players can manage it will attack, and like obviously they'll be like, oh look at that, a small boat now unoccupied, right?
yeah.
Um, and they'll take. But you guys during this combat were like, oh, we're gonna burn this boat down. Oh shit, we're gonna set this shit on fire. It's gonna be great. And I was like, wait,
Yep.
no, this is please. So I
Wait,
just,
wait, wait.
yeah. So I just like completely unsubtly was like, hey guys, wouldn't it be great if you didn't burn the boat and took it instead? And you guys were like, oh right.
In our defense, I had a fire build, kind of.
Yes, and
A
Elika
lot of my
had
shit was fire based.
yes, and Elika was also getting into burning stuff. Um,
Pyromania.
yes. Um, but you guys are like, okay, oh, you're right. That's probably a good idea. And so you don't burn the boat down. And you capture some of the pirates, loot the ship. I remember noting that there was a safe on this ship, but none of, as we remember, none of you can actually lockpick, not even Orcus. So you
Yep.
guys just were like, well, it's a safe. Uh, anyway, and you just kind of just kept it there and there, like we'll open it at some point. You pass through a couple local patrols that guard, like, because Perico doesn't have the city of the city of Perico on Tuval is like the one place that isn't established with the slavers. It's like a free kind of area. Um, so they have and so like they have a pretty negative relationship with the rest of Tuval.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and so like there's some checks to like make sure you're not pirates trying to infiltrate or something. Um,
This is a pirate ship, but we are not pirates. You
yes.
see.
So you apparently you hand off the pirates that you captured here, and then you sleep on
Yep.
your new ship. Um, and by this point, 2 weeks and 3 days had passed since the start of the campaign. So that was that
Yep.
session 13. But we're also going to be covering what happened in session 14. Um, oh, I'll note. I would sometimes add notes at the end of like I'd write down what happened, but then I'd also like add some. Oh, I need to work on this or that. This time I said I need to make some decent fucking encounters. I was apparently very mad at myself for
I don't think it was a bad encounter. I do
yeah
remember there being like different like classes of shit that we were fighting.
yeah
Is just like the dice weren't gonna be in your favor,
yeah. Yeah.
and they never will be.
Apparently yeah. Um, anyway, so we pick up the start of the next session. You guys wake up on your new ship um, in Perico, and Fierce plays Banjo.
Yep.
Yep. you go to a place called the Wanderer's Respite, which is apparent. I think it's a bar where apparently Druin is, as well. This is where Druin had told you he wanted to meet with you guys. I think. Um,
Hmm.
oh, d- do you remember what happened when you walked into this bar, specifically concerning Shanla?
I'm assuming a dramatic entrance, but no, I don't
No. Okay.
remember.
This is you see on the missing a
Oh,
missing poster. Yeah. Go ahead.
I remember
Yeah.
my family was concerned for me, and sent like they had like a missing poster for me
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
that somehow reached all the way over here.
well, presumably they had like I had like figured okay by this they'd like essentially like 2 weeks or so after you ran away without saying anything they'd sent out posters so and it'd end up reaching here about now um because you'd arrived right um
Yep.
and and I remember the way it played out was like one of the guys like looked at the poster looked at you and was like hey and Shala just walked up and like grabbed the poster off and it's like that
Yep.
stupid dad.
I stupid dad. I'm an adult now.
Um,
Got a girlfriend and everything. I remember. I think I strongly sent like a strongly worded letter to her father.
you did.
After that point.
I don't know when this happened, but yeah, at some point you write a letter being like, "I'm fine, Dad. Leave me alone."
I'm a strong, independent woman now.
Yeah. You go to apparently the guards around town were called as the Unchained Garrison, the Unchained Guards. And you go to their garrison. Um, oh, sorry. So you didn't. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. You went to the Wanderer's Respite to learn where Druin is because he told you meet you in Perico, but he hadn't said where in Perico.
Yep.
So you go to the bar to talk to people and find out where. Apparently, Ferris goes alone at first to speak with Druin, and he tells Druin, "Hey, I trust all of these people in the party. You should trust them, including Orcus the Hobgoblin." um,
Yes.
um, he also apparently tells Druin that Orcus has received communication from his dad from Rantai, the capital slaver city on the island. So
Yep.
you're like, hey, we're on your side. We'll share our info with you, Druin. We're with you. And this is like okay, and that convinces Druin like, okay, I'll trust these guys. Other than just you, Fierce.
Yeah. You don't like slavery. We don't like slavery.
Yeah.
So this whole thing can work out perfectly fine.
Yes. Oh. Okay, so after this, Orcus meets with Druin privately and eventually shows Druin the letters he has received from his dad, um, which is like as a sign of trust. Um, and you guys talk, and then you end up meeting. All of you meet up, Druin and Joso. Um, yeah, I note here everybody makes fun of Joso. Do you remember Joso? He's kind of like
Joso Joestar? No.
no. He was kind of like the mayor of Perico. He originally had met you met him before he came to Wanatuma for the meeting between like some local the leaders of the places, and
Nope.
at this time in real world time, um, a particular term had become more common in use. Simp. And so I remember you guys calling Joso a simp over and over and over again because he like indicated he was attracted to Shanla. Um,
Right.
yeah,
It was
uh,
very mean
yeah,
to
he,
everybody.
yeah. I remember Joso was the kind of guy to like just kind of take it and roll with it, you know. But he was made fun of. Anyway, you guys talk with Joso and um, Druin, and based on the thing Orcus had been given about like killing some member of the Stone Chain, Druin and Joseph and everybody's like, "Hey, now's about the time we deal with these Stone Chain pirates." So why don't we just go do a big raid, us versus the Stone Chain Fires on their main base? We'll just take them out. It's time. Um, and I think it was Elika's player who observes like, I bet they have a secret entrance to this. There's like a cove on the there's like mountains on this island or like rocky
Yeah.
cliffs, and there's a kind of alcove where they bring their ships in, and that's like where their hideout. Um, and Elika's player is like, I bet there's like a secret entrance in those rocky hills somewhere. We should find that. Um, and everybody's like, yeah,
Yeah.
and during them are like, okay, we have until this time when we probably want to do the raid, so go for it, go try and find it. Um, Also, you bring Joso over to the ship and have him crack the safe. Um, yeah. Let me see. Did I note what was in that?
uh, money.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there were some drugs in this. um,
Same thing.
yeah.
We get down to the brass tacks.
Hmm. Apparently, so I must have just improved what was in there. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, I must. I think I just purely improved what was in there. Because I don't have it noted anywhere in my actual notes. But we'll see the effect of those drugs in a bit. You go to a place called Easery's Exchange, buy and sell some stuff, particularly um, Orcus and Fyrus get some new equipment. Elka buys a book, and you buy some fabric for some new sails for the ship, um,
Yep.
and a bunch of dye. Do you remember this?
Yep, I do.
Uh,
We
mm,
got we basically tie dyed the sail,
mhm.
and as the next part of my
Master
plan,
plan. Yeah.
yeah, quoted now, talk shit, get hit, on purpose.
Of course.
It was we basically tie dyed it. So I don't know if we mentioned that Apollyon's great enemy in Divinity is Arcturus,
Sure. Yeah, we've mentioned this before. Yeah.
who, to
Um,
recap, is like a mountainous. Well, we depict him as like this mountainously
He's a
large dragon.
dragon made out of, yeah, massive dragon made out of various natural formations, particularly notable, or like he's a big mountain almost. Yeah.
Yes, and we had him like breathing fire on a depiction of Apollyon and just absolutely destroying him,
Yeah.
and having like the flames be like the tie dye, and it turned out really well. It
Yeah.
was really
You guys
cool.
like rolled a check, and I think somebody got a natural 20. Um.
Yep.
So yeah. So that's what you spend most of this day doing. It's a defeating Apollyon in an extremely colorful burst of elemental breath. Oh yeah. Look, also
It's
you
pretty
guys
neat.
get some new equipment or some like furnishings for the ship, and Elika turns into a horse to pull a cart with all like the chairs and tables and stuff because she has that now. Um,
Uh,
okay, yeah, and now from that safe, you take some blue dust. Elika takes some blue dust, um, and spends the time furiously focused on adjusting everything in the place to just be just right. So this is now fantasy Adderall.
right.
Yeah. Um, s-
A
slowly
lot of
making.
drugs this campaign.
Oh yeah, because Elika's character and player wanted to like originally have the character do stuff with drugs, and so I ended up just like okay, we'll do this now and introduce this now, and so different drugs for her to sample and experience. Um. Oh yeah. Um. During that night, while Fierce is taking watch, Shanla writes two letters. One to Mela, mostly just being like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm okay. How you
Yep.
doing?" That kind of thing. And then a second letter, um, telling her father that she is fine and to leave her alone.
Yeah. Shauna Shauna was just like a kid who wanted to travel across the seas
Yeah.
for adventure and not really worry about anything. And then But I was like, hey, we're worried about you. She's like, well, that's very inconvenient. How dare you?
Yeah. How dare you, Dad?
Yep.
Uh, yeah, that's funny. Oh yeah. Um, during Shanla takes second watch on the boat and meets a drow named Ilvaria, who is a member of another adventuring party in town. You guys interact with this adventuring party a little bit, but it's like, oh, she's a drow, so she's like does a lot of her stuff at night. And you happen to. This is where I chose to introduce that to you guys.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember the venturing party, but I don't remember this encounter
yeah,
with,
yeah, this is
with their trow.
there's some funny events with them a bit later, but not in this session, I don't think. So at some point, you guys learned there's a wizard up in those mountains somewhere. Um,
Oh, yep.
yeah, the wizard. Um, and uh, and you're like, well, there's this weird wizard up in the mountains. I bet he knows things. Maybe we should go talk to it. But where does he actually live? And nobody knows specifically actually where he is. They're like, hey, he's kind of there, around there. But so apparently you waste a day wandering around the mountains, and then somehow figure out, okay, no, he's over here. Um, but you spend the rest of that day hiring crew for your ship because you guys can manage it on your own, but it's better to have a proper crew. Um,
Yep.
so you do that, and I think I remember I put a lot of work into developing this crew. I was like, okay, it's got this specific name. This is why he's here. He's got personality. So I put like a lot of work, and they show up like once or twice, properly. um,
We cared about them.
yeah,
I
you did, you
remember
did, you did.
at the time, we knew most of their names most
Hmm.
of the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was good to develop, but I put in a little more work than I think was necessary in retrospect.
Yeah.
um, okay, so you guys travel over to take the boat over to around the location off the coast of where the wizard is, and then you guys get off of the boat and swim to shore, leaving your crew to handle the boat. Um,
Mhm.
and then you climb the mountains and you encounter a demon guarding the front of the cave where this wizard is staying. And you guys fight and kill this demon. Apparently, Orcus gets a crit on the first turn, making the fight very easy. Um, and then you enter the cave, go left, and encounter a stone troll, which you also kill. And then you go back, and you reach a metal iron door that's closed, and that is the front of the entrance, used presumed to the wizard where the wizard's home is. And you're laughing now because I assume it's become very in retrospect. It's very clear this wizard didn't want anyone messing with him, and considering he had a demon, he probably wasn't the greatest guy, right?
Yeah. You know, you get work where you can find it.
Uh huh.
Sometimes you can't find good employees at anywhere other than the ninth layer of hell. It's you know,
You know.
the job market is crazy
Right.
these
Right. Yeah.
days.
So I remember at this point, you guys like I tried to give like multiple clear like, hey guys, this wizard's not a great guy because you guys were going just to like talk to this guy, just like, oh maybe he knows some stuff. Um, and I
Yep.
was like, for the love of God, this is I wanted to TPK you guys so bad. I wanted to TPK you guys so bad here. We'll see in the next episode. We won't cover it this time, but oh my God, this moment, Gavin, is the moment
Yep.
where like I conceptualized Bleakwood. um, which is to the viewers is a campaign where character death is a lot more common because I was just like, okay, I can't TPK them, but they kind of deserve to be TPK'd right now because this wizard is
Mhm.
clearly out of their depth, and oh boy. But so yeah, we'll see the consequences of their action next time because this is where we ended off. Today's post recap discussion is about over preparing and just not like making things that you end up just not even using, and is wasted effort.
Yep.
Did you have much to say about that, Gavin?
Um. Well, we thought about it because it's part for this episode because of Tyler's preparing all these characters for our boat, right? But
Right, right.
we didn't exactly interact with them much in the way that that'd be super
I didn't need to give
important.
all of them backstories, which is what I remember. I was like,
Yes.
oh yeah, they're here for this reason. It's just needed a name and a vague sense of their personality, really. Um,
Yeah. Um. When I DM sometimes I don't DM very much, but when I do, I always like to play all the different characters, right? But
mm,
the players aren't always gonna meet all these characters. So if you have oh, this town has a really cool shopkeeper who has a special type of item, and then the players just go into town, do the thing that they came there to do, and then leave without
yeah,
talking to anybody. Really, he's just like, well, fuck you guys.
yeah. I thought it was
He's in the
very
next
cool.
town.
Yeah, yeah. There is that. You can always, like if it's possible to like just take it and put it in front of the players, that can make up for um that. But also, a thing particularly in this campaign I ran into was like preparing things way ahead of when they were needed. Because I can
Yeah.
say for the last like 3 or 4 sessions in my notes here, I've had like stuff prepared for Rantai for Tuval and Rantai and like the conflict that's happening here. And I've had because I was like expecting you guys to go next, and so I've had like an encounter in the sewers ready to go. Because
Yeah.
for some, but um, so it's just been sitting there taking up space in the notes for this entire time and just not getting used and just getting copied over to the next session and the next session and the next session. And then I don't think you ever actually did fight in the sewers. I had a battle map I remember ready and covered for like a couple sessions during this of the sewers, and it never got used. Uh,
Yeah. I
um,
saw the battle map. It was a pretty neat battle map.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. It did end up getting used like years later because I did another sewer thing. But yeah, um,
yeah, just over preparing for things like that. I also finally do that enough for characters where I mentally prepare. It's like,
mm,
okay, what my character is gonna do for this scenario, role play
right.
wise. But nothing like that ever comes up, right?
hmm
I'm just like,
Oh,
man.
it's definitely there's definitely a player version of this where it's like, oh, I have this backstory and I have this like thing I'm thinking about, and like, oh, I have this plan and blah blah blah, and this and like and then like the other players like unless heavily prompted might not even ask like it's been a problem where like people want other players to ask them but what's up with their character, and then just like nobody asks anybody about what's going on,
Yeah.
and everyone just sits there like, oh, why aren't they asking me about my stuff? um
I had a clinically insane character, and no one questioned her. I'm not gonna spoil anything because it might
yeah,
come up
yeah,
much later.
yeah,
But
yeah,
she had very suspicious quirks, and no one questioned it
yeah,
for the entire time the character existed.
yeah. I
You
remember
know.
Elika's player in a future campaign shows up with like what was effectively like came off as a meme character, um,
Hmm.
with like a ridiculous throat straining voice, um, and they were a frog,
Right.
insane frog person, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, yeah, sure, okay, I guess this is part of our party now.
We- we- yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely like I think a core part of like getting better at not over preparing is one just experience, like oh, I only really need this much. That's probably I just most of the time now I just have a name and maybe like a note about personality, like quiet, stern,
Yeah.
and that's like everything you need most of the time.
Yeah.
Even at least for me. And another thing is being able to like actually anticipate um what the players are going to do a bit better, and like an understanding of what it'll take to motivate and bring a player to a place, kind of like what I talked about last episode, like making the players do things. If you have an ability to like get the players to do things, then you have more control over like what they will interact with, and thus a better ability to predict and prepare for what's going to happen, you know. um
Yeah.
um and whether it's not fully related to the discussion, so we'll probably end soon after this, but I'll say at this point in the campaign, well, it kind of relates, I guess. Is when the point where I kind of I passed a point where I knew what I was doing. Because like from the start of the campaign, I kind of had like, oh yeah, this will happen. You know, like the stuff with Ibris and pretty much Wanatuma. All the stuff that Wanatuma from the start, I'd kind of like had an idea since the very start. Like, oh yeah, it'll kind of like be this problem. From this point on, I'd kind of just like, oh yeah, things will happen. But then I got to the point now where I actually had to figure out, okay, what are they doing? What's happening? And I kind of just like flying by the seat of my pants most of the time, just trying to lay down, like figure out. It was a lot more
Chaotic.
chaotic, rushed, like just trying to figure out what the heck should be happening next from this point forward, which does lead to some problems. Particularly, I feel like the ending of this campaign didn't was impacted by it. Um, but yeah,
No, we still had a good time all the way through.
oh yeah, yeah,
But
but it was just if it's just a thing to keep in the back of mind, I guess, because like it's I was sometimes in a state of panic from this point forward, just trying to figure out what the heck do I do next? What like just searching the ether for any idea, like what what do I do? Yeah, just like fighting against block, like creative block and stuff.
and
uh,
the ether is not helpful.
no, it is not kind. But yeah, I think that is where we'll end this episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.